Imagine a teenager stumbling through the front door, dropping their backpack and collapsing onto the couch in a state of shock. Their phone shows a message from a friend that says, "The math test destroyed me. I literally died." If a historian from the year 4000 found that message without knowing our modern slang, they might conclude that 21st century math tests were actual physical battles with high casualty rates. This exact type of cultural misunderstanding happens every day when people read the Bible. When we encounter a verse that sounds incredibly violent or scientifically impossible, we are often just bumping into ancient cultural slang that we haven't learned yet. To understand how this works, we have to look at the ancient Near East, specifically the land of Canaan, where military campaigns were a part of life. Skeptics point to the book of Joshua, where God appears to order the total destruction of every man, woman, child, and animal in a city. Read literally, it sounds like a command for genocide. In the ancient Middle East, this was a recognized style of military boasting. It functioned as a broad, exaggerated claim of total victory. We see this exact pattern in the records of the Egyptian pharaoh Ramses II. Ramses officially recorded that he completely obliterated the Hittite army, leaving none alive. History shows the Hittites survived this obliteration just fine. They remained a major power and eventually signed a peace treaty with Ramses years later. Assyrian kings did the same thing. They used carvings to boast about destroying entire peoples, who later appeared in the same records paying taxes. The biblical authors were using the standard military trash talk of their time to declare a decisive win, not to file a literal forensic report on a massacre. Another confusing moment appears when Jesus says, "But those enemies of mine, bring them here and kill them in front of me." This line actually belongs to a fictional character inside a parable Jesus was telling. His audience recognized the character immediately as a reference to Archelaus, a cruel local ruler who had traveled to Rome to secure his power. Archelaus was infamous for slaughtering his political opponents upon his return, a piece of recent history that Jesus' listeners knew well. Jesus used this well-known local tyrant as a narrative device to illustrate the danger of rejecting God's kingdom, using the ruler's recognized cruelty to make a spiritual point. Context also matters for the way Jesus talked about nature. He did most of his teaching in the rural, agricultural world of first-century Palestine. In a famous parable, Jesus called the mustard seed the smallest seed on earth. Modern critics point out that orchid seeds are technically smaller. Jesus tailored his message to the experience of local farmers, living and working in the fields. Among the crops actually grown and sown by these farmers, like wheat, barley, and lentils, the black mustard seed really was the smallest thing they handled. He was highlighting a visual contrast, how a microscopic starting point could grow into a massive plant large enough to shelter birds. Jesus spoke with cultural accuracy for his specific time and place. Modern biological critiques only apply if we ignore who he was talking to. Reading an ancient text as if it were a modern science textbook or a 21st century legal document creates problems that shouldn't exist. The Bible was preserved for us to read today, but the original authors wrote it to a very different audience. When you encounter a difficult text, start by asking two questions: who is speaking, and who is the original audience? Finally, ask, what was the cultural slang or literary style of that day? When you approach these quotes like a historian, the confusion clears away. You can read with confidence, knowing exactly how to put these ancient words into the right perspective.